Well, hello. Oh my, coming to you with no makeup today. So if you're following along on any of my other social media, you'll see that I've had a bit of a makeup week this week. Had some professional photos taken, so this is a bit jarring, isn't it? Warts and all. Anyway, today, Auggie Me, that's the book I've just finished, and I absolutely loved it. So if you're not familiar with what that might be, this is sort of almost like the side story from the book Wonder, which I love. I've seen the movie a couple of times. I think it's a fabulous book, and maybe it's because I've got a kid who looks a little bit different to other kids. She has a blood condition, which means that she's quite jaundiced, so she comes up as having a yellow skin, and her sclera of her eyes are quite yellow. So throughout her babyhood and childhood, we've been asked a lot of questions, and sometimes the questions are quite fascinating. People say things like, "What's wrong with your daughter?" in front of her. And instead of saying, "Hey, wow, I noticed your daughter is quite jaundiced. Is everything okay?" I'm sure that's the position that people come from. However, their curiosity can sometimes seem misplaced or displaced, especially when it's in front of the kid. And when they say, "What's wrong with your daughter?" I say, "Absolutely nothing. What's wrong with your manners?" So I've probably gotten a little bit sensitive, let's say, to those kind of questions. Anyway, so Wonder is a book about Auggie Pullman, a little kid who has a severe craniofacial distortion, I suppose you'd say, multiple surgeries to help him with some health problems, breathing, etc. And it's a fabulous story, and I love it for its own sake, but of course also because of the implications it's had for our family. Funnily enough, she hasn't read it, which is interesting. Anyway, so Auggie and Me, it's not a sequel. It's side stories. So it's about three of the kids who are, I suppose, minor players in Wonder, but it's a bit of a peek behind the curtain kind of book. And I love that sort of stuff. I love that, this is the main narrative and this is the other stuff that's going on behind, so that you see the main story or the main plot from a different perspective. And I love that. I always love that pull back the curtain stuff, you know. I love outtakes of videos. I love when you're seeing somebody perhaps being videoed for some social media, and then you see the behind the scenes stuff. I love bloopers, all that kind of thing. So this book to me feels like it's a little bit of that, about that. So I'm already enamored of it, and she writes beautifully. You know, it's a very easy read, and very it's really impacting, because some of the characters are, well, not villains, but yeah, well, I suppose Julian is a bit of a villain in the main book. And so here you get to see his side. You get to see where he's coming from, and why some of his actions were as they were, and just his own, well, all of their own personal confusion, just trying to navigate middle school, you know, those early teenage years of, 13, 14, 15, when the hormones are going crazy. Kids are just trying to figure out who they are and what they want to stand for, and being sometimes exposed to quite adult topics when we've tried to shield them, I suppose, to some degree as younger children, and then all of a sudden they're exposed to this adult world. So it's a really cool read for parents from that perspective, but for humans, because I think it's a really cool reminder of that thing that, no matter what you see on the surface, everybody's got their own personal stuff that they're handling, potentially struggling with. And I think there's even a quote very early on from Ian, let me just find it. Oh goodness, I should have probably tagged this before I started talking. Ian McLaren: "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." Now, even if they're not fighting a hard battle, they're doing their stuff, aren't they? And we've all got stuff. So even though somebody else may look potentially bright and shiny on the outside, they're doing their thing. And it sort of goes with that other quote that I love that said that you might be the villain in somebody else's story. So, even though we might feel like we're completely justified in our actions or our anger or our distrust or whatever it is that we've got going on, we might be, from the different perspective, when we flip it, we might be the villain in that person's story. So I suppose this book is ultimately a book of reminding us of that we all see the world through different filters. We've all got our own values and then our beliefs, and that colours, how we see things. I know when my dad passed away, I remember I felt really crappy one day. So what's the antidote to feeling crappy? Go and eat some crappy food. So I went into a fast food shop, last thing you need to be doing. But anyway, I went in there and I felt like the girl behind the counter wasn't nice enough to me. I was struggling, my dad's just passed. I wanted her to be a bit nicer to me. And, she would have been, I don't know, 18, 16, whatever. And I felt she didn't fawn over me quite enough. And I remember going back to the car going, she was supposed to be nicer to me. I'm struggling at the moment and blah, blah. And as I sat in the car, I went, oh my goodness, maybe her dad just died. Or even if not that, something else that she's handling and dealing with in her life. And here's me being all self-righteous over the fact that she wasn't nice enough to me in a fast food restaurant while I buy my crap food. And I think I burst into tears at that point, really, because I think it was a real realization for me that, we've all got our own stuff. And I work as a chiropractor, and one of the things that I see on my table, people, when they're face down, they tell you lots of things, so lots of beautiful stories, but also some really heartfelt stuff. And it's that great leveler. We realize that we're all doing our do and doing the best that we can with the situation we're placed in. And this book is a fabulous reminder of that. So have a read. Even if you don't need to read Wonder to do it. And in fact, when I started reading, I went, I'm gonna have to go and read it again because I don't remember these characters quite enough to see it from the other perspective. I might do that, but you don't need to. This is a standalone book anyway. Suffice to say, you just need to know that Augie's a little kid who's dealing with some stuff, and that is well and truly explained in this. So either way, obviously pick up Wonder. It's fabulous, but this one, Auggie Me, it's a great book, and it's a great book to share with, especially if you've got some, pre-teens and teens. You could even read it together because it's definitely text that lends itself to that. So, this has been a long post, hasn't it? Must be something resonates with me a little. So I hope you have a fabulous day, fabulous weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.